there, I'm Beth Williams, personal trainer and yoga teacher, and today's class is a warrior fit class. It's a strength training class for yogis or anyone that wants to maybe go a little slower with their weight training and focus on alignment in their weight training. So today there's going to be a core focus. Not everything will be a core focus, but it's a predominant core focus class. And so if you have a small Pilates ball at home, and I know some people do that work out and some people don't, then get that ready. If you don't have one, that's okay. We can modify with some of the things using a yoga block. And we might even be able to improvise using a blanket, a folded blanket. The weights that you're going to need today, I have one 10-pound weight, one 8-pound weight, and two 5-pound weights. So you'll notice that they're lighter than what I've had you get before. And the individual weights is because we're just going to be working asymmetrically today. So one of the things I want to talk about before we get started is the idea of breathing circumferentially through your rib cage or your rib basket, and also tightening in your abdominal core when we're working. And so some people tend to try to keep that corset of drawing in circumferentially around the whole rib cage throughout the entire workout. And I don't think that that's necessary, and I think it actually restricts your diaphragm from being able to move and to breathe. So one of the things that I like to highlight and for you to explore at the beginning of doing some core work or even a workout or a yoga class is the idea of inhaling to expand your rib cage circumferentially, so through the front ribs, the side ribs, and the back of the ribs. And if you'd like here, you can take your hands to your rib cage. And as you inhale, see if you can expand your ribs forward, out, and back. And you might notice that when you do that, your fingertips move away from each other. And then when you exhale, exhale out of the mouth, blowing out of the mouth. And you might feel here that your hands come closer in towards each other, the fingertips move closer in towards each other. So let's do that for 4 more breaths. Inhaling, expanding the rib cage circumferentially. So it's doing the best you can here. Really fill out. And then exhale, blow out of your mouth. Feeling your ribs drawing in towards the midline, hollowing out the pit of your abdomen. Continue for 3 more rounds, seeing if you can also fill the space towards the pelvic floor and up towards the chest when you inhale, just really creating a circumferential expansion all the way through the lower part of your core, the sides of your core, and then as you exhale, drawing all that in, even the pelvic floor lifting, and feeling a sense of your low ribs drawing down a little bit towards the navel. Okay, 1 more time like that. Blowing out of the mouth as you exhale, feeling everything drawing in like a nice hug. Good. And so it's important that when we're doing our core work, crunches, leg raises, that type of thing, that you feel that drawing in of your lower abdominals happening, particularly on your exhalations, and blowing out of the mouth can help with that. We don't want to push the belly outwards when we're exerting, because that can actually train your abdominal muscles to poof out or pooge out rather than drawing inwards. And if you're not quite sure where the lower abdominals are, what it feels like to be contracted there, you can produce a cough here. So taking a breath in and then coughing out loud. Don't let anybody hear you. And so when you cough, that's a coronavirus joke, it's not funny. And so when you cough, your lower abdominals draw in, your pelvic floor lifts. So we'll do that again. Take a breath in, cough, and you feel how that all draws in. So that's the effort that you want to be focusing on when you're exhaling here throughout the class today. It's okay if you forget, I'll remind you periodically. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I'd like for you to start off on your feet. So if you're sitting on a blanket, just move that aside off of your mat. And if you do have a ball, go ahead and place that in between the thighs. If you don't have a ball, you can place a block with its skinniest setting between your inner upper thighs. So placing the ball in between the thighs or the block in between the thighs, taking the feet as close together as the ball or the block will allow. And I want you to squeeze your adductors, your inner thighs in towards the midline. Take a breath in, feel that circumferential breath coming in. And as you exhale, blowing out of the mouth, just so you start to cue into that rhythm again. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Circumferential breath. Exhale, squeeze the ball, blow out of your mouth as you fold. See if you can keep your legs straight to touch the floor. And then again, inhale, rise up, reach up. Keep squeezing the ball. Exhale, forward fold, blowing out of the mouth. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, blow out of the mouth as you fold. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, blow out of the mouth. Can you feel that contraction as you fold through the abdomen, through the core? Inhale, rise up. Exhale, fold. Rise up, inhale. Exhale, fold. Last time like that, rise up, inhale. And fold, exhale. Rise up. You can take the ball or the block out. Good. And set that ball off to the side so it doesn't roll around onto your mat. And standing at the back of your mat now, sweep the arms forward and up, inhale. You might feel a little shadow of where you have that block or ball between the thighs. So keeping the thighs drawing in towards each other, exhale, fold. Let all of the air out. Feeling that contraction. Inhale, walk the hands forward. Coming into a plank position so that your hands are under your shoulders, stretching back through the heels. And we'll hold this for 5 breaths. Try not to let your head drop. And focusing on the expansion of the ribs on the inhale. That tubular core drawing your muscles in like a nice hug. Building some heat, generating some heat. Let's go one more breath. Nice, slow exhale. Lower the knees down. Grab your blanket. I'll be facing you. So you're going to pad your knees with the blanket. Coming up onto the knees, so you're standing on the knees, stepping the right foot forward. You can curl the toes of the left foot under if you'd like, or point the toes back. It's really whatever feels best on your back knee. From here, we're stretching the tricep on the left arm, so lifting the left arm up Bending the left elbow, reach the right arm up, cap the elbow. Good, reaching up through the crown of your head. Take a breath in here. Root strongly through your right foot, and as you exhale, twist from your upper rib cage all the way up through your head to the right. Inhale back to center. Exhale, twist to the right. Try not to let the knee bow out to the side. You can imagine you have a block in between your inner thighs that you're squeezing with the inner thighs to help track the right knee forward. Exhaling on the contraction as you rotate. Inhaling as you come back to center. One more time. Good, release the arms down. Switch to the other side, so take your right knee back onto the cushion. Take the left foot forward. Tricep stretch on the right side. And really root through your front foot, especially the big toe ball mound. Inhale. Exhale, twist to the left, blow out of your mouth. Feel everything drawing in towards the midline, all of your abdominal core. Inhale to center. Exhale, twist to the left. Center. Exhale, twist to the left. 3 more times. It's also a great way to create some T-spine mobility, thoracic spine mobility. Your thoracic spine is your rib cage spine. Release the arms down. Good. Take the right knee back. Okay. So next up, we're working with a modified bridge in kneeling. So it's a great way to change up your practice. So I'm just going to unfold the blanket a little bit more. I'll turn to the side so you can see here. So my knees are on the cushion. My toes are going to curl under so the heels point up. I'll interlace the fingers, take to the chest. Alternately, if you want to grab a weight, you can place the weight at your chest. But for now, I'll just keep my hands interlaced while I demo this first round. So eyes are forward here as I'm standing tall. Glutes are engaged, hamstrings engaged. Inhale to sit the hips back. Exhale to rise up, squeeze the glutes as you come up. Now, if your knees don't like this amount of flexion, you might try pointing the toes back and leading the chest forward a little more so that you're not bending at your knees as much. Inhaling back, exhaling forward and up. So finding what works best for you. You might play with leaning back a little bit as you bring your hips back. Last 5. Blowing out of the mouth as you exhale. Two more. Last one. Okay. So let's transition into a plank position. I'm going to be facing the camera so you can see. Just go ahead and move the blanket aside. You know, you could have your knees on the floor for a plank as a modification. So this is a plank position with a shoulder tap. So I'm going to look at the clock. We'll be doing this for a full minute. Coming into plank. And then from here, you're going to shift over into the right hand. Use your left hand to tap your shoulder once, come back into plank, and then switch. So once you get the hang of it, you can go a little faster. You might broaden your feet out a little bit for more stability. Maybe faster, maybe slower. Twenty more seconds. Still with me? Last tap. Lower your knees, send your hips back, child's pose. Hips back to the heels. Forehead to the floor maybe, or on a hand or two. Last breath in and out here. All right, so a little some focus on the lower abdominals. Lie on your back. Now, if you have a ball, you can use that. You can place the ball underneath your hips. If you don't have one, just keep your hips on the floor for this one. So I'm just gonna lift my hips, my heels to get the ball underneath the center of the sacrum. So it's not under the low back, it's under my pelvis. And then regardless of if you have the ball or not under your hips, lift your legs up to vertical. For those of you that have the ball, you might notice that your deep stabilizers are working to hopefully keep you from rolling off of the ball. So see if you can become as still as possible through the body. Try not to let the ball move. Keep breathing, expanding the ribs on the inhale, blowing out of the mouth as you exhale. You'll either have your arms next to your sides, out into a T shape, or if you want a little more of a challenge, you can reach your arms up to vertical. So you can see that's caused a little more instability for me. All right, so add on here. As you inhale, lower your right leg till it's parallel to the earth, and as you exhale, lift the right leg back up nice and slow, like you're moving through honey. Inhale, now lower the left leg, parallel to the earth. Exhale, slowly lift the leg up, in line with the right. Continuing here, inhaling to lower. Exhale, blow out of your mouth to lift. Inhale, lower left leg. Exhale, exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Minimal movement in the ball. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Lower on the in-breath. Lift as you blow out. Keep going at your own pace. Do 4 more on each side. 3 more each side. Couple more. Last one. Good, bend your knees, lower your feet. If you have the ball underneath, you'll lift your hips. Take the ball out, lower the hips down. Okay, so since we're already down onto the floor, we'll go ahead and work with a single leg glute bridge. So it's a hip extension, working the hamstrings and the glutes. It's a nice way to balance out the work that we just did. Okay, those of you that do have a ball, you will be using the ball by placing the ball in the left hip flexor. If you don't have a ball, you can fold up a blanket or a towel just to have something to squeeze the left thigh into. So it looks like that if you're using a blanket, okay? If you have a ball, it's harder because the ball will want to kind of pop out, and your work is to try to keep it in place. Okay, so we have the blanket or the ball in place. The right knee is bent, the right foot on the floor. Keep the 2 hip points level in line with the ceiling and the floor. Arms alongside the body. So about 10 to 12 repetitions here. Driving through the right heel as you exhale, lift your hips. Again, try to keep them pretty level and squeeze the ball or the blanket with your left leg. Inhale, lower down, slowly and controlled. Exhale, lift. Notice how the left knee stays bent the whole time. And I'm really focusing on not losing the ball. Feeling the contraction on the exhale. I like having this ball here because it keeps me from over lifting through the hips. It really focuses more on my right hamstrings and glutes doing the work. Last 2 here. Lower your hips. Lower the left foot. Switch sides. So you'll place the blanket or the ball in between your right quad and hip. Lift the right foot off of the floor. Arms alongside the body. Make sure you keep the 2 hip points level with the ceiling, with the floor. Okay, take a breath in before you begin. As you exhale, lift your hips. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. So you might feel that it was easier on the right side to lift and lower, or maybe it's easier on this left side to lift and lower. Keep squeezing that ball. If it pops out and rolls away, don't worry about it. Just keep that right thigh coming in. You don't have to go fetch it. Couple more, guys. Last one. Lower the hips. Lower the right foot. Hang on to your ball. We're going to transition into a tabletop. So I'm going to pad my knees. My knees are not as good as they used to be when I was in my 20s or 30s, so they need a little extra cushion, a little extra help. Okay, so from here, go ahead and place the ball, or if you don't have a ball, you might put a folded towel in between your calf and your hamstring. If you don't have time to go get that, don't worry about it. You'll get the point. Now press strongly through your hands. Keep your spine long and neutral, and squeeze the ball or the towel in between your calf and hamstring. Pull your abdominals in on the exhale and lift the leg up towards the sky. Don't lift so high that you lose your strength through your abdomen and overextend your low back. As you inhale, tap your right knee down to the floor or the blanket. As you exhale, squeeze the ball and lift the heel towards the sky. Inhale, tap the right knee down. Exhale, lift the heel, squeeze the ball. Inhale, lower knee. Exhale, lift the heel. Inhale, lower knee. Exhale, lift the heel. 5 more. You really feel your right hamstrings and glutes working here. The ball keeps you accountable. Because if you let go and you're not squeezing your legs, guess what? The ball goes away. Okay, other side. I'll find my ball again. Place the ball in between the left calf and hamstrings, right at the knee crease. Hands under shoulders, knees under hips, squeeze that ball. And take a breath in. Exhale, lift that left heel. Keep your abdominals drawing in and up. As you exhale, inhale, tap the left knee down. Exhale, squeeze the ball, lift the heel. Last 5. 3, 2, and 1. Good. So let the ball go. So let's make our way into downward dog, and from downward dog into standing. Curling the toes under, lift the knees and the hips up and back. Enjoy a nice long deep breath here. In and out. At the bottom of your exhale, you can lightly walk or hop your feet forward to the top of the mat. Move any blanket out of the way. Go ahead and rise up to standing. And we're going to grab our 2 5-pound weights for some tricep work. So standing with your feet a little wider than your hips. Hinge from your hips. Stick your rear out a little bit. Find that your torso is neutral. Notice it's at an angle. It's not vertical or horizontal. Bring the elbows in towards the ribs here. Take a breath in. On your exhale, straighten your arms. Inhale, bend your elbows. Exhale, straighten your arms. Keep going. Keeping the elbows tucked in towards the sides, like they're glued in towards your ribs, so that you're not lifting your elbows when you straighten your arms. If the 5-pound weights are too light for you, it feels too easy, when you straighten your elbows, just hold for a second or 2, so you can get that little bit of extra contraction at the triceps. Last 3. ahead and come up to standing. And grab an 8-pound weight. Find your squat stance. So this is a fixed overhead raise position through the left arm. So you're going to keep your arm straight the whole time. Okay, you might notice that you're not able to go as deep into your squat as you're used to. You can take your right hand to your right hip. You ready? Inhale, sit back into your squat. Exhale, drive through the feet to rise up. Inhale, squat. Exhale, rise. Inhale. Exhale, rise. Inhale. Exhale, rise. Inhale, squat. Exhale, rise. 5 more. Last 3. And 1. Lower the weight. Probably feeling some warmth in the shoulder here. You ready to switch to the other side? Okay. Left arm straight. Right arm straight. And ready? Go. Inhale, sit back. Exhale, rise. Inhale, squat. Try to reach back equally through both sit bones. So the weight keeps you accountable, keeps your chest lifted here. So that you don't bring the weight forward, because that can really hurt your shoulder. Let me reset. Don't try to do that though. Last 5. Two. This is harder. You can do it. 1 more. Okay. Set that guy down. Catch your breath. Towel off. Maybe get a drink of water. Alright, so we're going to start over with a squat. The squat with the blanket underneath the knees. And maybe grab your 8 or your 10. Place that weight just right at the chest, holding onto the ends of the dumbbells. Tall kneeling to start. You might have your toes curled under or pointed back. We ready? Inhale as you sit your hips back. Exhale as you rise. Squeeze your glutes. Follow your breath. Squeeze the glutes as you rise. Five more. can set that weight down. I'm gonna move the blanket aside. So let's go into plank again with shoulder taps. If that's too much for you, you can just hold the plank for a minute instead of lifting the hands to tap the shoulders. Okay, ready? Get into your plank position. We'll do this for 1 minute, starting now. You might start off slow. And then maybe going a little faster. Halfway there. Maybe a little faster. More seconds. And done. Lower your knees, send your hips back. Child's pose. Catch your breath. Last breath here. Okay. Let's grab our ball, if you have one, or your blanket. Okay. Actually, you don't need a blanket for this one. We're just going to slide the ball underneath the hips. So if you don't have a ball, just keep your hips on the floor. Okay, so easiest position for the arms is to have the arms alongside the body. A little more challenging, arms out into a T. Harder, arms up into vertical. Okay, lifting the legs up to that candle position. Trying to minimize wibble wobble if you have the ball here. Okay, we're going to lower both of the legs at the same time. If that's too hard for you, just do single legs like we did before on the previous round. Then inhale, lower the legs. Exhale, blow out of your mouth, squeeze the thighs together to lift the legs. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Squeeze and lift, exhale. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. 5 more if you're doing legs together. Last one. I always love hearing that. Last one. Okay, lowering the feet. Excellent. Okay, so we got our bridge ups here. Single leg bridge up. So you're going to place the ball in between your right hip. This time, right thigh and right hip. Left foot onto the floor, arms alongside the body. Eyes look up. Driving through that left heel, let's keep the hip points level to the ceiling, to the floor. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Moving with your breath. Blow out of your mouth. You'll get more of that abdominal engagement. More power. More bang for your buck. Two more. Lower down. Switch sides. Ball in between left quad and belly. Arms straight. Right foot rooted. Hip points level. Breathe in. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Blow out of your mouth as you lift. Last 5. Good, and finish there. So let's make our way into tabletop for those glute hamstring work, the kicks. Rock and roll up. Pad your knees if you'd like. Alrighty, so tabletop. Let's do ball in between the left hamstring and calf. I always seem to want to start on the same side every time, and I think it's good for us to change it up. So, here we are. Setting up neutral spine, squeeze the ball. Exhale, lift. Try not to overarch your low back. Inhale, lower the left knee to the floor. Exhale, lift. I'm kind of in one of those positions here where I didn't place the ball quite right. It feels like it wants to pop out. So just really focusing on that makes you have to be a little more meticulous with the movement. My last count, I'm thinking 2 more. If I'm off, which is definitely not unusual, then you can do 1 more for good measure. As long as we're close. Switch other side. Reset your hands, your neutral spine. And ready, inhale first. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. I find my toes want to help with this. So if I'm not conscious of it, I curl my toes up. Anybody else do that? So you just kind of wiggle those toes a little bit and get them to free up. You might feel your hamstrings in a different way tomorrow. I know my ears will probably be ringing. Okay, last one for good measure. And done there. So we can set the ball down. And let's work next on our triceps, and then we'll do a form of a squat. We're not going to do the same version with a single weight overhead. That can be really demanding for a lot of people, so I mean, you're more than welcome to do it on your own if you would like. So I'm grabbing the 5-pound weights, taking the feet wider than the hips again. Take the hips back, hinge from the hips. Elbows in towards the sides, spine long. Breathe in. As you breathe out, straighten your arms. So as you're focusing here on the triceps, Can you also focus in on your abdominal core? As you inhale, your ribs expand into your imaginary corset. And as you exhale, it's like somebody just tightened up all of those strings and tightened everything up. Drawing everything in towards the midline. Still with me? Let's do a couple more for good measure. All right. I'm so happy that I get to do this warrior fit on this side of the screen, so you guys can be doing this at home. I really miss teaching my live classes. So it's good to know there's somebody on the other side of that screen and we're staying strong together. Okay, so like I said, if you want, you can do the straight arm squat version here, but I'm just gonna do a goblet squat myself. So, got my 10-pound weight. I'm gonna place that at my chest. Take the feet into your squat stance here. If you're not sure what your squat stance is, if you go back to my first Warrior Fit video, then I explain how to find that. Okay, so a little bit of a turnout. Are we ready? Inhale, sit your hips back. So you'll find your squat has more depth than it did on that previous variation. Exhale up. Exhale up. Ten more. My contacts always get sticky about this deep into my workout. So if you see me blinking or winking, it's because I've got a contact that's stuck. How about one more? Nice, set that weight down. So, let's see, I want to finish off with some outer hip work. So I'm going to have you guys come on to your, let's go right side. Make a straight line between your heels, hips, shoulders, and your head. And if you need to prop your head, you can with your hand or a blanket or your arm. And try not to let your hips roll forward or back throughout these. Keep them stacked. If you're a little weaker in your core, you might use your top hand on the floor just to help stabilize you so you're not rolling forward and back. Also, if you want more of a challenge, lift your side waistline a little bit. Good. Ready? Feet flexed. Inhale. Exhale, lift your top leg. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Keep going. You might take your hand to your hip and see if you can maintain the stability here, not rolling forward or back. You might take your top hand towards the ceiling. Let's just do a couple more here. Good. Okay. So same side. We'll do something else before we go to the other side. You'll lift your top leg up so that it's parallel to the floor. So you'll feel some engagement through your outer hips. Fingertips can be to the floor, the hip, or reaching towards the sky, that top arm. Okay. So from here, you're going to swing your leg forward slowly and then back. So I'm going to start with the regressed version with the fingertips to the floor, just to really get the range of motion. You might play with taking that hand to the hip. So lots of wibble wobbles happening. You might take that top hand up towards the ceiling. I feel like I'm gonna roll back if I do that or when I do that. So you might notice that your form completely crumbles. And if that's the case, just take your hand back to the hip or the floor. Let's do 3 more. I'll admit that was not a good variation for me today, but it's kind of fun to try, isn't it? Last one. Good. Bend that top knee, let that top knee come in towards the floor. Try to keep your hip from going all the way to the floor. It's a little bit of an outer hip stretch. I need to work on that last one. It's been a while since I've done it, to be honest. Okay, I'm gonna turn around so I'm facing you. So you'll be on your left side. Find that your body's in a nice straight line. From heels to hips to shoulders to ears. And like I said earlier, you can have your bottom waistline lifted a little bit. That engages your core rather than just kind of collapsing towards the floor. Notice how when you do that, there's more of a chance that you can stay engaged here. Fingertips to the floor to start. Activate those legs. Take a breath in before you begin. As you exhale, lift that top leg. As you inhale, lower. Still trying to keep the waistline lifted away from the floor. You might take your hand to your hip here. Stay focused. Try not to let your mind drift off about what's next. Remember, when you're focused on what you're doing right here, right now, there's a better chance that you're going to have more quality out of it. And you kind of already know what your to-do list is, so put all your focus into what you're doing at the time you're doing it. Let's just do a couple more for good measure. I forgot to lift the top hand here, so it's always good to see if I can do that. Okay, so the next one that you'll do, start off with your fingertips on the floor. Lift your legs so that it's about parallel to the floor, and you're going to bring the leg forward, hip flexion, and then back, hip extension. And one side might be harder than the other. You can feel all sorts of your body wanting to help out and compensate the best you can, trying to keep your hips pretty level. You might try it with your hand on your hip. And I'm just going to peek down and see that I don't have too much wibble wobbles going on here. So this hip was the hip that I had operated on, so I can't bring it as far forward as I can the other hip. So I'm just grateful for whatever I feel like I can do with good strength. And hopefully someday they'll be even, the right and the left, but they haven't been for a long time, so honestly,
I'm okay with that. Can you do a few more with me? You're probably really feeling those outer hips working. Oh, I think that's about it. And then bend the knee and just let the knee come in towards the floor. I couldn't get that knee to the floor sooner. Nice little stretch through the outer hip. It doesn't matter which direction you're facing. You can just go ahead and come onto your back. And bend your knees so that your feet are on the floor. And just let your head and your shoulders settle. Bring your arms out into a T shape. Take a breath in and just let your knees go over to the right and your head roll to the left. And just pause here. Good. Head to center, knees to center. Take a breath in. And then let your knees go to the left, your head roll to the right. Pause here. Bring your head and hips back to center. Take your right ankle to your left thigh. As you inhale, you're going to rotate your right knee, your right thigh actually internally, and you can hold on to the outer right knee with your left hand. And just press your outer right thigh into the resistance of your left hand, and at the same time try to root your right thigh bone down towards the floor, so your pelvis is level to the floor. I'm also using my right thumb to help guide my right thigh bone down towards the floor, the head of the femur, to be more specific. And that stretches the piriformis, the outer hip muscles, the IT band. Good, and then externally rotate the right thigh. Reach up and grab the back of the left thigh. Draw the legs in closer and flex the ankles so the toes curl in towards the shin. Just take a couple of breaths here. Exhale, release. Both feet to the floor. Left ankle to right thigh. Internally rotate the left thigh, grab the outer left thigh with the right hand, and press the thigh bone into the resistance of your right hand. At the same time, you can use your left hand, left thumb to really root the head of the left femur down to the floor so your pelvis is level. So I'm asking you to do two opposite things. I'm asking you to internally rotate your left thigh and resist that at the same time. So that engages the outer hip muscles and lengthens them simultaneously. Strengthening and lengthening at the same time. Good, now externally rotate the left thigh. Reach up and grab the back of the right thigh. Flex both of the ankles so the toes curl towards the shin, towards the corresponding knee. A couple of breaths here. So it's nice not to have a whole lot of weights today. I'm focusing on how to engage your core without feeling like you have to keep that engagement of sucking in the entire time. So you basically work with your breath, which is more of a functional way of being in the world. We don't walk around, or we don't want to walk around sucking in our gut all day long. And if you do that, you're not going to be able to really access your diaphragm and breathe correctly. And most of my clients that have done that for a long period of time, they usually report that they have back pain, tailbone pain, pelvic floor pain, and neck pain, sometimes shoulder pain as well. And so
I think it's important to learn how to breathe and to learn how to engage your core on and off of the mat. So when you're working out and when you're just at home doing regular things or even just sitting around. So I want to finish today with a quote by MLK Jr., Martin Luther King Jr. And I think this is a really important quote right now with a lot of us feeling helpless and not knowing what we can do or contribute to the world, especially since so many of us are sheltering in place or isolated at home. Now there's other people that are considered essential workers, and I'm so grateful to all of you, so very grateful. I want to thank you so much. I know that you are out there on the front lines and helping so many people, so I really appreciate you. Those of you that feel like, maybe you feel helpless, like you don't know what to do, stay at home. That's what you can do. This is what MLK Jr. said. I digress here. If I cannot do great things, I can do small things in a great way. If I cannot do great things, I can do small things in a great way. So remember that. Thank you for working out with me today. I hope that you join me for another Warrior Fit class or a yoga class. Namaste.